Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And you know my guest today as an entrepreneur, but also as a member of Swedish powerhouse, The Halo Effect, who are about to release their second album, March of the Unheard, on January 10th. Please welcome my guest, Peter IWERS. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. It's been a few months since we've seen each other, but we saw each other in
Yes.
person, which was nice, but this is good too.
Yeah, yeah.
Fall starting to set in Gothenburg.
It is definitely. It's getting really dark very early. So say around 5 in the afternoon, it's almost pitch black.
And then it's going to be more darker for the next couple of months, but you're used to it. You've dealt with it, you know.
I've dealt with it. I don't think I will get used to it. I like the summer. I like the. I mean, if it was up to me, I would have summer and then go directly into like winter with snow. Maybe a week or two of fall, but fall in Gothenburg is a lot about rain, so I'd rather skip that. If it's a dry fall, it's just beautiful with all the colors, of course. But I like the winter with lots of snow, which we don't normally get. We get a lot of rain. So my favorite season is summer when it's light and you can sit out, until whatever, and then it doesn't really get cold. So,
Exactly.
but every season has its perks, of course.
Well, it sounds like you and I think, deal with fairly similar weather systems as far as being on the coast, and of course, Gothenburg being more north than Vancouver. But as far as the rainy season, it does get a little exhausting. So yes, I think we both lean more towards the summer and the longer days.
Oh yes.
Yes. But anyways, I wanted to, before we get to the, of course, talking the halo effect and perhaps some in flames discussions, I wanted to give you a chance to inform people and let people know that might not know about your successes as an entrepreneur with Restaurant
Thank you.
2112 and on Odd Island Brewing. For those who may not be aware of your businesses, I'd like you, if you don't mind, talking a bit about them and what got you inspired to get involved with both projects.
Yeah, thank you very much. We we started 2112 when we opened 13 and a half years ago. And I guess the idea came about 15 years ago. I guess it came sooner. I always had a dream of having my restaurant, my own restaurant. Um, and then we had a long hiatus coming up with In Flames. And I remember having Björn over. We were in Taiwan. We were at the end of a long, long cycle. He came over to my hotel room and we stood on the balcony and we had a beer or something and talked. And I remember him asking me, it's like, what do you want to do for this? Because we were going to have like almost a year off. And I said, I'd like to start a restaurant. It came out of me, and he said, I want to start a pub. And let's do it, we said. How hard can it be? And that's literally exactly what was said, what was being done. And we featured that in a book that we released about us doing this crazy adventure, just doing something. There it is. Yeah, yeah. And it's actually exactly what happened. We came home, we got in touch with some friends that we thought knew this stuff. I started studying the alcohol law while Björn was renovating a place that we found. Basically, we searched for a couple of places, and then we found this perfect spot, and just kept going and just opened before we know what we were doing. And we kind of learned along the way. We had people that we thought knew that what was going on in the restaurant business that we kind of found out some of them were serious, some of them were not. And we learned along the way. And here we are, 13, 14 years later, and I still don't know how to run a restaurant. But I do know how to treat people well, I think. I'd like to believe anyways. And one motto we have at 2112 that is that everybody's always welcome. Because one thing that made me want to start a restaurant, besides I love food and I love cooking, I love eating well and, sitting still for a long time, dining in and having long talks, is when you look like I do, when you have tattoos, I had long hair, you get we got like you rejected at a bunch of places growing up. It was always we don't let people with long hair in here. You have the wrong shoes. You don't look rich enough. Blah blah blah, and that kept on going for so long. And I know Björn had some issues with that as well. different. You coming into store wanting to buy a suit, and it's like, who are you? And it's like, well, I'm the guy who has a lot of money here. Try, it shouldn't matter what you look like. You should never judge anybody by, never judge a book by its cover. It's a cliche, but that's what I live for. I think it's super important that everybody gets treated equally until you might prove yourself being an asshole, obviously, then we show you the door. But and at the time there was no such place in Gothenburg. So we just said, let's open a place where everybody's welcome. We will play music that's going to be a soundtrack to your evening. We will make everybody welcome, and we will, rate some really, really awesome food. And we did. And we had kind of two segments. One was the pub segment, and one was the restaurant segment. And speeding up a little bit, this one, it was a little difficult to have kind of fine dining in Gothenburg at the time. A lot had to do with the clientele that we brought. People couldn't afford it. People were a little afraid of the white linen cloth, kind of. So we focused more on making it a luxurious pub. We took away the tablecloths, and we focused on lots and lots and lots of really, really good burgers. And we were first in Gothenburg to actually specialize in being a burger place. And so that became quite a success. And we added more and more flavors, more and more different beers and beer styles. Again, learned along the way what we liked. And we always made it a thing that never, how should I say, never... don't take the easy way. Don't buy the cheapest stuff just because you might make more money off it. Always think quality. Always get the best ingredients. Make everything from scratch as long as you can, because that will always pay off. It will be a little bit more expensive, and you will make a little bit less money, but it will always be worth it. And and we had a couple of years that was really, really hard. We had to invest a lot of money, take a lot of money from our saving accounts, and to keep it going. And when we finally paid off all the loan and the mortgages that we had, then that's when we could actually turn things around, and that took about 3 years. And then from that, we had some really, really great years. And then during the pandemic, just before the pandemic, actually, we started talking about opening another business. So we bought a kiosk, street food place that we started, and we were just about to close on another deal, but then the pandemic hit, and we paused that a little bit. But everybody know how it was during the pandemic, so I'm not going to go into that. It was difficult for everybody. We kept the kiosk open because we could have business on the outside, which was great. And then we actually started a third restaurant called MG5, which ended up being right next door to 2112. So we tore out the whole kitchen, rebuilt everything, and set it so that we could have 2 stations, one for each restaurant. And that's where we are today. We have 2 restaurants, same staff that goes back and forth, and you can start a tab at one place and close it at the other. Kind of, we have beers and lots of wine and drinks and fried chicken and burgers, depending on which restaurant you go into. And I just, that's where I hang out. It's great.
Well, I look back to my first visit there just over 10 years ago to the 3 visits, this last visit this past summer. And it's just a phenomenon. Like it fits exactly what I am constantly looking for myself in a restaurant, because you touch on about feeling included and involved, and the attention to detail that you put in the restaurant, where it can be a very fine looking establishment and not having to fit the typical stereotypical vibes that one might think of a metal pub restaurant, where you have the music going, but I find nothing's obtrusive, nothing's attacking you. Quality food, like I can't stress enough the consistency and quality of the food, because that was the thing my wife and I were from our visit 10 years ago going, okay, we thought it was good. Was it really good? And leading up to the visit this summer, we're thinking, I hope it just wasn't in our mind. And it's like, no, this is as good, if not even better than we remember it.
That's much appreciated. That's how we want it. And we constantly look for feedback as well, because we're all only humans, and you can have a bad day or whatever. But our staff, I think they're the best, and they go out of the way to make sure that you as a customer feel special. Sometimes, obviously you can have somebody in there for as a like I said, on a bad day or something can happen. That can happen to anybody. But we always look at the feedback to perfect ourselves, because we still want the place to be a place basically where this whole story where everybody knows your name. Cheers,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody knows. Yeah,
yeah.
and we want you to be able to go there by yourself and not feel alone. Should be like a home away from home, for touring musicians, actors, regular people, whatever. And you will always get a really good soundtrack to your burger or to your beer or glass of wine or whatever. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I can't stress enough the quality of the food and beverage. It's not just, oh, it's a
Oh,
burger
thank you. Yeah.
beer. It's like, no, this is a burger that you will probably never ever have in your life again. It's just,
Well,
yeah,
one of my colleagues, Christopher, who is the brains behind the kitchen, he is very, very meticulous in picking the right ingredients, picking the right meats, and like I said before, never choose the cheapest one. Always choose the best ones. We try to do a lot of Swedish meats because it's local and people really like and enjoy to eat the Swedish stuff when you hear. It's not always possible because it's not always the best. When it is the best, that's what we buy. When it's come from somewhere else, that's what we buy as well. So we try to always. It's kind of like music. We try to do what we would like to eat ourselves. Same with music. I write what I enjoy listening to myself, what comes natural.
well, I think I recall years ago, either yourself or Bjorn saying that, going back to the idea of putting it together, it's like, where would you want to go and hang out after a show, or perhaps
Hmm.
before a show? Sort of using that as a
Exactly.
structure piece of building that restaurant, the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about,
When I'm on tour,
Mhm.
which isn't that much these days, but when I am on tour and when I was on tour, I never really wanted to go to a loud rock bar before a show or after a show. I always went to the nice, restaurant that had a lot of good food or good wine and good beers. I like to go to those places if I really want to party, of course. But I also want to go to places where I can just relax, whatever I want to do. And then we kind of took the impressions we've gotten throughout the years from all over the world and tried to put it in one place. I remember we talked about having like the bar look like a lobby restaurant kind of. We have like a really nice wallpaper. You have glass shelves. It should be lit from underneath, which it was in the beginning, but I don't think that works anymore. But yeah, so make it really look really nice, but not fancy nice. Just comfortably nice.
I think you succeeded definitely. Now you were talking
Thank
about
you very much.
just before the pandemic. Is it something to consider, maybe doing a franchise thing, or you pretty much just want to keep it as sort of the one destination piece?
We talked about it. We wanted to do other 2112s throughout Sweden, especially. We looked at locations. We realized quickly before the pandemic that when you do this, you need people that we can rely on, that we know will do exactly the same. And it takes some time to get to know people, to get people to do the same. So you kind of need to do franchise in that case, where you actually make them sign a contract that you have to treat it exactly like this, and you will have to pay this amount of money and stuff like that. So I'm not against it, but it needs to be definitely our way of doing it. I don't want to do like a sloppy 2112 somewhere. I want it to be exactly like that. And I also realized how difficult it could be, because now that we've built MG5 on the next, we've actually redecorated since you were there. And my whole idea, or our whole idea, was to do any restaurant that we start by 2112. Kind of, we did the
Okay.
street food by 2112. We had another place, like I said, before the pandemic, that we actually never opened. Was going to be something by 2112, and now MG5 by 2112. It's, if you want to set the right colors, you need the same scenery, the same atmosphere and feeling. It's difficult to recreate something that's love in a new place. But I'm not closing any doors. I'd like to open more restaurants, and I don't mind the franchise thing if the right people come along.
Yeah, because the last thing you want
So
to do
give
is,
me a call, you know.
yeah, you just don't want to tarnish that credibility that you've built as well. That's
No,
probably the
exactly. Yeah.
most scary thing of them all. It's not so much, oh, do you
Yeah.
want to buy into my business? Can you keep that credibility level to the standards that we currently have it at?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the topic of 2112, for maybe some people that are living under a rock, the inspiration of the name 2112, I know we're clearly both on the same page, but 2112, of course, inspired by one of the ultimate Rush albums, and you are a big Rush fan, as I'm sure Bjorn is as
Yes.
well. Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean the name 2112 was actually we set out there were four owners in the beginning, four friends. And we had a lot of name suggestions, you know, and it's difficult. I remember Björn had, I think we talked about Burn, for instance, like I think Deep Purple album, something like that, right?
Hmm.
We talked about, you know, just it needed to be some sort of music related, and we talked about, well, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is too long, you know, it's can't do that. And then a guy who was involved at that time, his name is Victor. He came up with, what about 2112? And it's like, yeah, if it's if you know it, you know it, then it's fantastic. If you don't know it, it still sounds classy, sophisticated, and you know, not too posh, kind of. So that was perfect. And I mean, obviously, I love that album. I loved Rush. We all do, we all did, and it was just, you know, yeah, it was a no-brainer. It's gonna be 2112.
Perfect.
And I remember actually having dinner with my friend Michael Stanahe from Dark Tranquillity and now from Halo Effect as well. And he didn't know anything. And we sat down and talked, and he's a huge Rush fan. I like Rush a lot, and he's a huge Rush fan. And we talked about, you know, wouldn't it be cool to have a place, you know, this, and we all made like made it. We promised each other not to tell anybody. So I was sitting there. "Oh, I'd like to tell you soon, you know." So when it actually happened, he's like, "Whoa, yeah."
Planets aligned. So
Hmm.
now, so now is it true, or were you carrying at 2112 some Henderson Brewing merchandise and products? For those who don't know, Henderson Brewing out of Toronto,
Hmm.
Canada, who
Yes.
manufacture and produce Rush-inspired beer and T-shirts and so forth. You carry that at Restaurant 2112?
Yeah, some of we actually do. I mean, first off, I knew about Henderson obviously, since they did the first Rush beer. And as we were in Toronto, we wanted to go, but I was I went to Rodney's to eat seafood, and but actually Michael and Niklas went to the brewery and bought some beers and some memorabilia and stuff. Then my good friend Jörgen, who has an import beer company in Sweden, he imports a lot of beer from North America and from Canada, and he was in touch with the retailer for Henderson's, talking about bringing it over to Sweden for quite some time. We also talked about maybe letting Odd Island brew it, you know, get the recipe and kind of do like a shadow brewery kind of stuff. And hopefully that will still happen. I never know. But long story short, he got the contract to import the beer, and we put 2112 as the first place to actually take it in. So he flew down with a lot of merchandise, and we had a really really cool release party. I drank 400 Rush beers, so 2112 now. But I remember the next day, Michael and I had to go out and do a show, and I was like, I was very tired that morning at 3 o'clock when he came to pick me up. But yeah, so we don't carry the merchandise, but we
Okay.
have it there. We bought it, and we each own some stuff that we wear from time to time. But we do carry the beer. As one of the few bars in Sweden, we actually carry the Rush beer, which is very very cool.
That is very,
I'm hoping, you know, since we're airing in Canada, I'm just hoping that, you know, we could get Alex and Geddy to at some point come and visit. You know, anything they want is on the house, of course.
yeah, sign
But
up.
yeah, that would be a dream come true. I did get a good friend of mine in Toronto. Actually, got the big book of bass guitar from Geddy Lee signed to Peter and Björn of 2112. So we have that
That's
there, and
awesome.
that's, you know, super cool.
That's very, very cool. So you mentioned
Mm.
Odd Island Brewing, which you have partnered with Daniel, your in
Mhm.
Halo Effect bandmate. part of the
Yep.
section. And you also have some products on tap as well from Odd Island Brewing at Restaurant 2112. And how
Yes.
did the whole Odd Island thing go? Because that started up a few years after Restaurant 2112?
Yeah, 2112 started at in 2011. We opened the doors, and we had like a year before that, building, thinking, learning, rethinking, all that stuff. Daniel, at the same time or a little bit after, got interested in brewing beers, and did a lot of it back home, you know. And he actually used to bring it when we had a tour bus picking us up in Gothenburg. He used to bring the beers. And we could try it and taste it, you know, and it was pretty good, you know, it was pretty good. And I was very new to the craft beer. He was way before me, because I never really got into all the bitterness or the perfumey type of craft beers. That was a lot back then, or maybe my palate was just not taking it in. But he knew some stuff, and he absolutely knew what he liked. So he started, because with In Flames we had a few crates of beer each night on a rider, you know, and we always wanted as many as possible to be lager, light lager, Budweiser, you know, course, whatever, something really light and easy to drink. But every night we always got some sort of craft beer, and we always, this perfumey shit again, you know, and this is really early in our career. And we always threw it away or put it aside. And at the end of the tour, it's like we had some crew member or somebody, you know, like, would you like 15 crates of beer? It's like, yeah, it's this stuff. This is really good. It's like, oh, really? Okay. We started trying, you know, a little bit here and there. And Daniel especially took to it and enjoyed it a lot. Me slowly started to understand what I liked. And what I liked was beers that weren't too difficult to take in, so to say. There wasn't too much of a step away from the lagers, not too bitter, not too sweet, not too sour, whatever it was, you know. Daniel took it all in and liked it, and he especially liked Sierra Nevada, which was one of the cases of beers that we always threw away back then. I would never do it today. And Sierra Nevada's American Pale Ale is the first beer that Daniel tried to brew, you know, basically. And when he felt comfortable in doing that, he called me up. Hey, it's like, I have done something that I think it's really good. Would you mind taking it in on 2112 to see what the public thinks? And I was like, of course not. You know, bring it and I'll sell it. And we did. Took in the feedback, and it was very, very positive. And I think this was in 2015. Yeah. So 4 years in, and by that time I had started getting more and more into craft beer. Still not as much as Daniel. Still not as much as Daniel to this day, but I do like my craft beers. But when I joined the brewery, which was, I asked him then, it's like, hey, would you like somebody to help marketing the stuff? You know, he's like, not just yet. I want to learn some more about the process and stuff like that. But fast forward about 6 months, and I asked him again. He said, yes, please come aboard, you know. And I started selling the stuff and market the stuff and did that. And what I took with me from my first impression of craft beer, with it being so difficult for me to comprehend or to take in, is that let's make beers that are, you know, easier for newbies to understand, kind of, you know. And that's the philosophy that we stick to today. We make beers that we always joke that it's high drinkability, chuggability, and stuff like that. Not so much carbonation, because you get full. You can't, you know, drink as much when you're full. And we stick to that to this day. We do a lot of beer styles, everything, you know, from stouts, porters, IPAs, sours, APAs, you know, whatever, pilsners, lagers. But it should always be easy to drink. And Daniel is very, very meticulous in his process, and he would never do anything that he wasn't 100% behind. I think I've seen him ditch 2 batches of beers, you know, in this whole process that's been doing, because it was bad. And I was like, but this is pretty good. I was like, no, it's bad. Let's ditch it. Okay. So he's very, very thorough. Same thing with our colleague that now brews most of the beers as well. It's very, goes back to the same thinking with 2112. It's no point in doing something cheap and bad, you know, when you can do it proper. So we've been doing Odd Island since 2016, and now it's, you know, 2024. So we're actually going to celebrate 10 years next year because he started it in 2015.
Nice. Going back to keeping the credibility high. You don't want to tarnish that credibility.
It's not so much about the credibility. It's more like not being able to stand for what you do at any given time of the day. You know, you make music that you like, you make burgers that you like, you brew beers that you like, and you make sure that it's never bad. You know, same thing with the restaurant. I don't want to jinx anything, but you know, the few times that people have complained about something, it's been like, let's say it's like it happens in the restaurant business. If somebody comes in and they complain about being oh, I got food poisoning, we always take it very seriously. We bring in the health government and all the bureaus, and they can test everything, and every single time it's turned out to be coming from somewhere else. But you think it is because you don't realize that what you ate 12 hours earlier also, you know, comes to the point. And I think that goes hand in hand with being very, very thorough. We're very clean. We, of course, keep very sanitary, whatever you say. And we choose the best ingredients, the best types of meat that we can get.
Awesome.
Pays off.
Was it around that
Excuse
time?
Me. I speak so much. I get dry. I need some.
No problem. Enjoy yourself. Was it around that time, like 20, let's say 17, 18, that with the combination of the brewery and the restaurant that you guys, and of course families as well, that you were getting maybe a bit overwhelmed with the decision to part from In Flames? Was it just getting a bit too much to manage everything at that time?
I've been thinking about that a lot of times.
Yeah.
For me, I can only speak for me, of course. When Daniel left, part of me left. He was one of my best friends in the band, and when he left, it was not the same anymore for me. I felt that I had stuff that I could manage because I did, after a few mistakes at 2112, after trusting people we shouldn't have trusted, we found the staff that we wanted. We found the right hand men and women that we could trust. So the restaurant was all good, was taking care of itself through them. So I knew I could have that even though I was on tour. The brewer at the time was managed by Daniel. We weren't big enough to hire some sort of distribution company, so we had to rely on friends and to help him deliver when I was on tour. My decision, it wasn't one reason. I was unhappy. I had this, the last tour I did, I was supposed to enjoy myself, and we were touring with Hell Yeah, good friends of mine, and we had a lot of fun, and I just felt this big block of anxiety, you know, I had weight on my chest all that. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't breathe. I just realized it was like I gotta leave, you know. And once I took that decision, it's like all of a sudden I could breathe, I could sleep. There was no anxiety anymore. It was just a matter of telling the guys, you know, and I did it. And I remember doing it. I told Niklas first, and he was like, okay, I understand, I respect it, you know, I'm sorry to see you go, blah, 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 anything I can do, you know, all that. And then I told Björn and Niklas, we were talking at the same time. I remember sitting somewhere I should remember where this was. I remember the place, I forget which city. Nevertheless, sitting there, you know, all these emotions come out. It's like divorcing, you know, 4 wives, you know, that you still love. It's really difficult. You still love them or her, but you realize that for everybody's best, it's time to break up. It's time to divorce, you know, because you will be better off on separate ways. And so there's a lot of emotions, a lot of tears, a lot of stuff. And from that day, we decided to do like every show as a farewell show. And then all of a sudden it was the last show, and you know, I was okay, bye. You know, it's difficult. It's really difficult to retell it, but it was definitely not by any sorts or forms of bad blood, which some people think. A lot of people want to do drama, you know, a lot of people want to do that, but there was nothing like that at all.
Well, as an outsider from two two perspectives. One, seeing you on that last run with Hell Yeah at the Commodore Ballroom in Vancouver. And it was weird seeing you without Daniel. It was also
Hmm.
odd knowing that you, I think at that point, maybe only had 4 or 5 shows left. And it was awesome seeing you, but it just, I could feel even from a distance that something just, even though we knew you were leaving the band, it just seemed that something was just not right as far as
Yeah,
the overall vibe. Not that it was bad that there was any butting heads or anything within the band. It was just the overall energy was just, you could feel something. It's really hard to describe. But then on the flip side, the other perspective is thinking that, as you mentioned, there's no hard feelings, that sort of thing. But as an outsider, that you're still a partner with Bjorn in the restaurant. So as an
hmm,
outsider, people can kind of go, well, how does that work? And it's awesome to see that it does work, and that you've been
yeah,
able to maintain obviously a friendship and a business relationship, and everything there seems to be cool. So I think
yeah,
overall,
absolutely.
the outsiders are very pleased with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that in a lot of time, I'm gonna do the marriage reference again. You know, when you divorce, it'll take some time before you actually settle, kind of, you know. And in that time, there could be some drama, there could be some talks, there could be some people guessing here and there. But we who were in the band together, we know everything, and we don't need to prove to anybody else that there was no bad blood. But I think that a lot of people thought so. A lot of people wanted drama. A lot of people wanted, you know, let the bashing begin. But it's like I always said, it's like, why? You know, no. I was just done with that life, you know, at the time. And again, with a fast forward, like I seem to say a lot, you know, a few years later, Niklas came to me and asked, "Should we start a new band?" I was like, "I don't know. I might be done with that." You know, it's like, "Oh, but let's do that." And we can ask, you know, we asked Daniel, and we asked, you know, people always thought about this, you know, all being ex-Inflame members, Inflames members. It was like, ah, that was some sort of plan. No, it's just that we all knew each other so well. Gothenburg is such a small city. I've never played with Michael, and he's one of my best friends, you know, and I work with Daniel every day in the brewery. You know, Jesper hadn't hung out with him in a long time, but still one of my closest friends. You know, friendship, you know, never ends, kind of. And of course, Niklas, the same thing. So when he came asking me about this, it's like, yeah, this could actually be pretty nice. You know, let's just do some ground rules. You know, let's have fun. You know, first and foremost, let's have fun. You know, let's not like make any, you know, typical issues come between us. You know, let's just we share everything. Everybody's invited to write music. Everybody's invited to participate in decision, in ideas, and thoughts, and everything. That way, nobody will ever feel left out. You know, and that's I think that's a lot of the key. So now we go on tour and we just laugh and have a good time, which is great. You know, not that I didn't do that with Inflames at all. It's just that you know when I do it now I don't think that I would do another band unless it was during these terms. So now we do it. I have the time to do all my stuff as well, and so does everybody else. Michael tours a lot with the Dark Tranquility. Now he has, you know, of course, Grand Cadaver and Cemetery Skyline as well. So he's in 4 bands, if you know, and you know, I don't know what the time is, maybe 5, you know, but he's such a workaholic when it comes to that, and he's great at it. Niklas writes a lot of music. He writes most of the stuff for Halo Effect together with Jesper, but he still invites us to participate. How does it participate with ideas and to bring it to the table and always to have a say in whatever he writes. And I do other stuff, and you know, we all participate in the way that we do, and we all go in and arrange the songs together if necessary. A lot of times it's not necessary because it's already done so perfectly. So, but we all do it together. Doesn't really matter who does what. We do it together, and I love that.
So, and as you said, it was very important to lay kind of down the ground rules to begin with. And I guess those are things you get with age and knowing as you're starting a new project. And of course, with friends that
Yeah.
you already know, you can be straight up. You don't have to pretend. And yeah, that totally helps getting everybody off on the right foot, being on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the beginning. We just said it out loud, basically. Let's just do everything together. You know, it's not a matter of everybody writing 20% of the music or you know the lyrics or you know doing whatever decisions and you know asking everybody here and there. We trust each other in what we do, and we do it together. And I think for me, for us, that works perfectly. For other bands, for other people might need different rules. It's all up to each band and band member. But that's how we do it in the Halo Effect.
And the Halo Effect March of the Unheard comes out on January 10th. The first single, Detonate, is pretty damn crushing. Can we expect, no, I don't want to say more of the same, but just a continuation from the debut? Or should we, we're going to have some
Yeah,
new flavors?
no, absolutely. I think that you could definitely expect the same type of music. We will always use the influences that we feel like. But when we came together and started writing music, we actually sat and talked about it in the studios. Like, what are we going to sound like? Are we going to have distortion? Are we going to do that? Are we going to play like this? Are we going to be metal? Are we going to do it? It was just that, let's just write music and see. I remember showing Niklas a riff that I had written for like a pop song that I wrote, because I do some writing of that sort as well. I like to write music, whatever style it is. And I had one idea. I was like, this is actually pretty cool. Maybe we can do something from this. And that was an acoustic soft intro that I had recorded at my summer house by myself one late evening on my phone. And I showed it to him. I put it into the computer. Then I had added some drums and stuff to it. And it's like, this is good, great. And he kind of reworked it, and that became Gateways. So it's all in the fingers. It's all in the voice. Whatever happened, it was never intentional that we're going to sound this way. It just happened because I guess we are who we are, or we play the way that we do. So when it comes to your question with the second album, it's the same thing there. We wrote music. We made music, and the way that it comes out, I am sure that you will be very satisfied if you enjoyed the first record.
Same personnel on board with the production, recording, mixing, that sort of thing, or do you have a different team?
No, same team.
Keep it consistent.
Yeah.
I was watching, there was a YouTube video that Nicholas and Jesper put together where they're working on riffs and who's coming up with ideas. And it was reminding me to just remembering the many times having you and In Flames at the store over the years at my store. That was just classic times. And I don't know if you remember this one, and I remember being so terrified. There was one time I picked you guys up. It was during the Sounds of the Underground tour.
Yeah.
And I thought, for those who don't know what a Chevy Blazer is, it's an SUV, but it's not large. But I thought I could maybe fit you all in there. I couldn't. I thought I could
No.
one in the back and one in the front. I could usually count on you riding with me up front. That seemed to be kind of your spot. But I remember thinking I could fit the four in the back. Couldn't. Jesper decides to slide over the back seat into the back area. And I immediately heard this crack, which terrified me, because the back area of my truck was where I used to keep my dog. Not, would go for a ride. He wasn't there. The dog wasn't there.
Yeah.
But his little bed area was there. And that day I had a glass picture frame, like 11 by 7, like fairly big frame, that it's like, oh, where can I put this? I'll tuck it underneath this bed so it doesn't get trashed. And when Jesper slid over the back and I heard that crack going, I'm like, oh no, tours canceled, shows canceled, everything's canceled. I could see headlines right away. Jesper's ass cracked and broken by glass screen going to record store signing. So it's just some classic memories there. And so on the topic of him though, because great guy, great writer, how's he doing these days? Because I know you kind of have downs. How's he doing?
Yes, he's doing great. He's doing great, absolutely great. But same thing with not speaking for Daniel. I don't want to speak for anybody who's not him. But Jesper's doing great. He's writing and recording and playing amazingly. So that's good. It's nice, very nice.
Yeah, no, it is very nice to see. And those shows, you got the big Halos Over Europe tour starting in January through February. 26 shows in a month.
Yeah, that's how we like to do it. Why should we get off days?
You think your body and mind is ready for that challenge?
Here's the thing with me. I don't really think ahead too much. I mean, obviously I plan stuff because I want to be prepared and stuff. but I don't get into emotional mode or emotion mode when it comes to anything that I do until I'm actually there. People always ask me when we do these summer festivals. We don't do that much, but we do a few. We've done a few for the last couple of summers. And my friends asked me, "Where are you going this weekend?" I was like, "I don't know. Let's see," because I'm not there yet. So when it comes to that tour, I'm not there yet. I'm looking forward to it, and I'd much rather do 26 shows in a month than 20, because then that would mean I have a lot of off days, a lot of time to I don't really sit still well. I need to do stuff. So for me, it's perfect. I think it's great. Obviously, it could be nice with a night off here and there, and we'll have a few, so it should be great.
But best to keep the momentum up and just keep plowing through.
Well, that too, absolutely, yeah, definitely. And it's a matter of, I think I would say it's mostly a matter of what Michael wants, because he's singing, and I know that he likes to do a lot of shows back to back as well. So we should be fine. It's gonna be a good time. I talked to Daniel about it today, and we were all very, very psyched for it. And of course, playing with Peter and Payne will be great again. Good friend.
No doubt. So you mentioned some summer festivals. I know you did a couple one-off North American dates years ago. Can we expect or perhaps look forward to some more dates in 2025 on this side of the?
I know that they want us to go. I know that they have some plans and talks. It's all a matter of scheduling. We don't have I don't have the time to go on that many tours because I have all this other stuff. Promised my kids I wouldn't go on that many tours when they're before they're older. With that said, I don't know if the right opportunity comes knocking. Absolutely, I'd love to go over. I'd love to come to Canada again. So we'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time so much today. I don't want to take up more.
Of course, yeah.
March of the Unheard. Everybody should look forward to that coming out on January 10th.
Yes. Today, just before this, we actually announced October 29th will be a new single release as well.
Do we have a title?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know actually what was out there right now. So maybe.
So you're being a little coy on us, but I appreciate the little.
Yeah, you can like. I know the title. I don't know how much I can say, but I know that it's out. That we're actually releasing it October 29th.
Look for a new Halo Effect single on October 29th. This is exciting.
And video.
That's exciting.
Of course.
And multiple configurations of physical product of March of the Unheard on CD and vinyl. I saw there were some shirt packages as well. So there's an array of options for everyone. Peter Ewers, I appreciate your time. Love 2112, the restaurant.
My pleasure.
2112.
Thank you.
All the best to you, and hopefully we'll see you on these shores in 2025.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
This is Different Stages Radio.